Woke up in the morning, super early in the morning from a phone call, getting accepted, and then I got more phone calls and more emails throughout the day. And it was just so exciting and like the best day ever because I just felt like all my hard work from like my entire life was just shown in this one day. And I
Yep.
was so excited, but I also didn't really know where I wanted to go. So now I had a bunch of options that I had to choose from.
That's the tough part about getting so many acceptances. But if that's the biggest problem you have going through this process, I like to think that's a good problem to have.
Definitely. I was not expecting that. I think that this was the best investment towards my future that I have ever done. Again, as I said, I didn't know where to start and I felt so on top of everything. And I thought that Predenting just helped me organize my entire application and so seamlessly and smoothly and made the process a lot less stressful than it is and than it needs to be. And I definitely would recommend it to anyone. I was just really intimidated by the whole process as it's so daunting. And I was looking for help with this and to figure out what steps I needed to take in order to become a competitive applicant. And I was looking to do this in the least stressful way that I could, of course, as it is such a stressful process.
Working together, what did you find to be the most valuable or really like what was the best part of it?
I thought the best part was how invested you are and how it was the exact same invested that I was into my future. You were just as invested. And I thought that working alongside each other, I was able to get instant feedback and you really cared and you showed that you cared. And I felt the way that you helped me in such a genuine way. And I was always emailing you so often and you were always answering so quickly and just being super helpful and answering every single one of my questions and concerns, especially because I was super nervous. So it was just really helpful to have that support as I was super nervous, didn't really know what I was doing, and you were just always there.
I'm happy to hear that because yeah, I do genuinely care and I know what the process is like having been there myself in your shoes and yeah. Once we started going through the process together, what was that like for you?
So I thought that it was super helpful because you had a set plan of certain meetings that we were going to do, and each meeting covered a different part of the application process. And again, I really just did not know anything about the application process. And we'd started super early before the application even opened, which was even more helpful and eased up a lot of stress and lessened a lot of the stress. And I just thought that after each meeting, we would talk about certain things like my activities and talk about how to phrase them and certain things like that in my personal statement. And after talking about this and putting it into my own words and then you revising it and then meeting again, I just felt even more like right to be there and a competitive advocate and confident in myself.
As you should. Yes. So and as we work through all those different parts of the application process, the activities that you mentioned, like framing your experiences the right way, the application questions, the personal statements, so on and so forth, did you find the different approaches in terms of like almost like the strategies and how we best frame things and convey your authentic candidacy, but in the best way to be very helpful and really help you towards getting that end result, which was many interviews and many acceptances?
For sure. Yeah. So I honestly am not the best writer, especially with applications. I feel like I don't really know how to phrase things in the way that an admissions team, I guess, would want to see, and what to include and what not to include, what's important and what's not important. So I thought it was super helpful to talk about it. About my personal statement, that was something that I really had zero idea where to even begin. I remember hearing from different people, this is how you should do it. This is the way to do it. There's a certain way to do it. But then after having a phone call with you and talking about the personal statement and talking about all of my experiences and just discussing on how I would go about it and format it and connect the dots about my story, that was super helpful because I really don't know how I would have done it without that session and without you helping me and revising it and as many times as we did.
Well, I'm happy you found that valuable. And yeah, that is a Goliath of a part of the application in terms of it
Yeah.
being this blank canvas of like, okay, what do I write about? What are the
Yeah.
most important things to touch upon? Yeah, so very important, as is every part of the application, right? It all comes together
Yeah.
to essentially convey why the admissions committee should interview and choose you as opposed to the other applicants, other thousands really of applicants who have great stats and are qualified, but they're just aren't enough seats for everyone. So I'm happy you found that to be valuable. We went through the application process, interview season came around. How many interviews did you end up getting?
So I ended up receiving 9 interview invites. Yeah.
Awesome. And then once we started preparing for those interviews, what was that like in terms of the interview prep?
So this was like one of my favorite parts. It was super helpful. You had a list of the most asked questions, and we went over these and different talking points that I would have, and we practiced these, and um, we had a mock interview, and I thought that was actually like the day before my first interview, and that was super helpful, especially after hearing your feedback. And I just went into the interview way more confident, and I thought that was super helpful, and that's what led me to performing well, especially on my first interview, which was super exciting. After our prep and after the interview started, I was like, wait, I like really got this. Like these are the exact same questions that we've been going over, especially in the mock interview. I feel like every single question was asked. I wasn't shocked about any of them in this first one, and I just knew exactly how to answer all the questions. And that sort of gave me the confidence into my next interviews, especially after this first one going super well.
And you obviously ended up doing very well in impressing the interviewers because just to give context for those nine, you ended up not going to one of them
Yeah.
in terms of the interviews. And then when acceptance day came around, how many acceptances did you get?
So I got 7 acceptances.
Absolutely knocked it out of the park. And then to which schools?
I was accepted to NYU, Case Western, Nova, Temple, Detroit Mercy, Maryland, and Penn.
That being said, would you recommend other pre-dentals use predenting?
I definitely would. I think that this was the best investment towards my future that I have ever done. Again, as I said, I didn't know where to start, and I felt so on top of everything. And I thought that pre-denting just helped me organize my entire application and so seamlessly and smoothly, and made the process a lot less stressful than it is and than it needs to be. And I definitely would recommend it to anyone.